our focus, Abhishek, on a story that has not just developed, it's gone bigger, and possibly it has, the entire ingredients to become bigger in the next few days. The story is about Arvind Kejriwal, the story is about the LG, the story is about the centre, and the story is also about an ordinance. But interestingly, Abhishek, there is a tinge of opposition unity also in that story and the debate that we are bringing to our viewers today.
Perhaps already fractured, Deepti. Thank you so much for that introduction. But there is this fight of political narratives, whether the Delhi government or the Aam Aadmi Party government has won, or whether the centre has yielded some turf. But more importantly, there are some legal aspects. There are some constitutional aspects to this story which we really need to deliberate. Whether Delhi, as the national capital territory, needs to have the central government or the union government's control over it for reasons of national security, for reasons of relationships with foreign missions, and through them with foreign governments and aspects like that. So let's discuss this, but then headlines first.
परसों 3 बजे ममता जी के साथ मेरी कलकत्ता में मीटिंग है और उसके बाद एक एक करके मैं हर पार्टी अध्यक्ष से पूरे देश के अंदर मैं मिलने के लिए जाऊंगा.
It is the Delhi government versus the centre face-off that is getting bigger as the BJP hits back. Arvind Kejriwal announces he's going to be seeking support now from different opposition parties.
ये तो हम लोग कह रहे हैं कि सारे देश में सब लोग एकजुट हों ताकि ये लोग संविधान का भी और किसी भी चीज का अपने ढंग से जो इधर से उधर कर रहे हैं और किस तरह का माहौल बन रहा है.
Nitish Kumar continues with his attempt to unite opposition, meets Kejriwal, extends support to AAP amid fight with centre.
समझते हैं कि एक कॉन्फ्रेंस रख के वो कश्मीर के अवाम की आवाज़ दबा सकते हैं. इंशाल्लाह ताला हम उनको गलत साबित करते हैं.
With less than 24 hours to go, it's a rattle Pakistan spewing venom yet again as Jammu and Kashmir gets ready to host the big historic G20 event.
Republic is the only channel reporting from the ground zero when it comes to G20 summit. That will begin from tomorrow and the venue is right here.
Massive security deployment across the Union Territory, mega preparations in Srinagar. Republic gets reaction from ground zero as G20 event rolls out.
The Prime Minister reaches PNG to chair the FIPIC in the second leg of his big three-nation visit.
As Prime Minister sets the tone for his US visit, Biden tells PM the tickets are sold out as he is widely popular in DC as well.
It's a massive fight that is breaking out in the national capital just days after you had the Supreme Court verdict that Arvind Kejriwal and his party celebrated. You have the centre's ordinance. Now, what does this ordinance really do? It gives back the powers to the LG, and as expected, this has sparked a massive row. Now, following this, you have the LG's office that is alleging that at least, and listen to this very carefully, they say at least 8 officers have been blatantly harassed by the Delhi government. The fight is not just limited to Delhi anymore, Abhishek.
We'll in fact get you the names of those 8 officers as well, Deepti, but then it's wider. There is the political narrative, whether this is about the Aam Aadmi Party government trying to control some officers, or is it about the federal structure? Is it about the centre versus the state relationship? Even, is it about whether the parliament ever intended Delhi to be a full-fledged state or not? All these very important constitutional aspects of this debate that need to be discussed. Let me introduce the guests joining us in the studios. All right, first the package. First, let's just get the perspective right and then come back to the discussion with the guests.
तो एक तरह से राज्यसभा के अंदर अगर ये इसको बिल के रूप में लेके आते हैं तो इसको बिल के रूप में हराया जा सकता है राज्यसभा के अंदर, और अगर राज्यसभा के अंदर ये बिल हार गया तो ये एक तरह से 2024 का सेमीफाइनल होगा.
This was Arvind Kejriwal's declaration after he met Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. One day after the Delhi ordinance was passed, AAP wants to unite with the opposition against the ordinance.
राज्यसभा के अंदर जब ये बिल आएगा, ऑर्डिनेंस जब बिल के रूप में पेश किया जाएगा, इसे किसी भी हालत के अंदर राज्यसभा में पारित नहीं करवाना. मैं खुद एक एक पार्टी के नेताओं से जाके मिलूंगा, उनसे समर्थन मांगूंगा कि इस बिल को अपोज करना है, ये जनतंत्र के खिलाफ है, किसी भी हालत में हमें इस बिल को पास नहीं होने देना राज्यसभा के अंदर.
In addition to uniting the opposition, the AAP is also set to hit the streets. On the other hand, BJP held a press conference to defend the ordinance.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट की संवैधानिक पीठ के फैसले की साफ साफ अवमानना है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यह फैसला दिया कि चुनी हुई सरकार के पास निर्णय लेने की ताकत होनी चाहिए. यही लोकतंत्र है, यही लोकतंत्र का सम्मान है. लेकिन आज जो अध्यादेश केंद्र सरकार लेकर आई है वो उस हार के डर से, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार को पावर देने के डर से वो ये अध्यादेश लेकर आई है.
संसद का सबसे बड़ा रोल है तो उसके तहत ये अधिकार केंद्र के पास है, और इसीलिए इससे पूर्व में एक और पहले जजमेंट आ चुका है, कई जजमेंट्स आ चुके हैं. हमारी मान्यता है कि ये पर्टिकुलर जजमेंट उनके कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन में है, मगर जैसे भी अगर हम इस जजमेंट को भी मान लें तो इस जजमेंट के तहत ही कोर्ट ने खुद लिखा है कि केंद्र सरकार चाहे तो कानून ला सकती.
BJP MP Parvesh Sahib Singh in a tweet hit back at Arvind Kejriwal for meeting the same people he accused of corruption. Amidst the tussle, Delhi Congress is leaving no stone unturned to slam the Kejriwal-led Delhi government.
दिक्कत तो दिल्ली सरकार की यह है कि इतना ज़्यादा बदतमीज़ कोई मुख्यमंत्री नहीं है. आप किसी से दिल्ली सरकार में बात कर लीजिए, अधिकारियों से, नेताओं से, लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर से, वो कहते हैं जिस घटिया भाषा का ये इस्तेमाल करता है, बदतमीजी से केजरीवाल बात करता है, किसी भी सभ्य व्यक्ति को उससे बात करने का मन नहीं करता है. तो अगर इस तरह की स्थिति में आप जिएंगे तो फिर आपको इसी तरह की स्थिति में जीना पड़ता है.
Currently, the BJP has 93 members, with the Congress having the second highest number of MPs at 31. Should the ordinance be put to test, the AAP, which has 10 MPs, would need the support of Congress. Will the ordinance unite the opposition? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Welcome back. Joining us, Nikhil Jain, advocate, leans towards the Congress party. He's joining us live from Delhi. Shyam Prasad Meka, leader of the Congress party, would be joining us in a bit, I am told. Akash Deep Moni, political analyst, leans towards the AAP, is going to represent the Delhi government view on the other side to defend the ordinance. And hence the BJP, R. Rajgopalan, senior journalist, live from Delhi. Deshratan Nigam, advocate, Supreme Court, going to give us the court perspective, the legal perspective from the government side, from the BJP side, and against the Delhi government, I believe. And then let me begin with Shehzad Poonawala, spokesperson of the BJP. And Shehzad, if I could begin with a counter question, with spinning the political narrative on its head so far as you are concerned. You know, Delhi is a city-state of 3 crore people, similar to Punjab, similar to Himachal. If Punjab and Himachal, people of those states, can have full-fledged state governments and be in charge of their political destinies, why not people of Delhi? If the argument is national security or police, you can keep the police. That's what the judgment of May 11 also said. You can have the NDMC, so the issues of institutions like the Supreme Court, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the embassies, that's taken care of.
Thank you very much. First of all, Abhishek, let me congratulate you for breaking this story. I think you were the first one that broke this story. So irrespective of our views on this story, congratulations on that. Secondly, let me tell you that you compared Delhi with Punjab and Himachal, and the constitution hasn't given the same place to Delhi as Punjab and Himachal, and there are multiple reasons for it, but obviously I don't want to sit in the chair of the founding fathers of our constitution, but what they basically envisaged was a very unique position for Delhi, wherein it is not a general UT because it has a legislature, but it is not entirely a what we call Purna Rajya, and therefore it has not got the liberty to make laws on every issue under the state list under the constitution, and therefore 239 AA, 3B and 3C, if you read it very carefully, even before this judgment of the Supreme Court, has amply clarified that if the union wants to exercise its power to make a law on any item under the state list, apart from the three which has been excluded by the constitution, that is land, law and order, police, they are entitled to do so, and the Supreme Court judgment only added more credence and legitimacy to this when it said in para 95 that if the union chooses to make a law on any of these subjects, which includes services, because services comes under that list, then the legislative power of the Delhi government and the executive power is curtailed to that extent, and this has been upheld. In fact, this authority and ordinance is actually the biggest respect of the Supreme Court judgment. It's in consonance with the judgment, and I'll tell you, even the good intention of the centre, even when they created the authority, they could have very well transferred this power to the LG. Instead, they have created an authority of which the chairperson will be the Delhi Chief Minister, and
but
therefore...
Even then, Shehzad, what you're actually not telling us is that the LG holds the final power. He has the final say, no matter what the Chief Minister
might say.
But okay, I think
if I may just add one line on this,
quickly.
That is not because Shehzad wants it, that is because the constitution wants it this way.
Agreed. So you are saying constitution.
And Justice Chandrachud, by the way, wants it this way.
You're in your position to actually call for this, and you've done this. Now you clearly have your own way forward on this. Akashdeep Muni, before I come to you, I should get the Congress here, because this story, Abhishek, has moved far beyond the ordinance, and it has now travelled to the spot where you have Arvind Kejriwal seeking your support, Mr. Mecca. He says all non-BJP parties must come together. Let's defeat the BJP in the Rajya Sabha. And he says this is the semi-final for 2024. Are you with Arvind Kejriwal? You're against him?
No, I don't know about 2024 and all that. On this issue, I think what is wrong if Arvind Kejriwal tries to coordinate other parties in Rajya Sabha? There's nothing wrong, right? It's his democratic right. Now, coming to the actual issue of the ordinance, okay, let's go to the legal points. Probably it gets challenged in the court, and we will see the arguments there. Before that, the perception is very clearly, right after the judgment, the government has did a mockery of all the institutions and systems and tried to bypass what is pronounced by the Supreme Court. Yeah, if this ordinance holds true according to the law and constitution, that's a different matter. But the way it is done is basically saying, I don't care what you all speak, but I want to do what I want to do.
Judgment? Can you ask him that?
No, I read.
Can I ask him one question?
One second, Shehzad, before you come in, Mr. Mecca, you haven't answered my question. I asked you a simple question.
Wait a minute.
I'm saying, do you stand with the centre today, the centre that says we are well within our constitutional right to bring forward this ordinance, or are you today standing with an Arvind Kejriwal and a Nitish Kumar perhaps, who say what has been done with the Delhi government is wrong? Which side are you choosing?
I am not with anybody. I am with the Constitution of India. I am with the democratic polity of India. And before your other guests like Shehzad talking so loosely about questioning whether I read the ordinance, whether I read the Supreme Court judgment, please hold on.
Don't take it on your ego. I'm asking you as a point, because I've been told that you're a lawyer allegedly. You're an alleged lawyer, is what I was told. So if you're allegedly a lawyer,
don't get personal.
I'm saying allegedly because I'm not sure of that fact. No. Is he a lawyer?
No. Okay,
so I'm assuming now that you're a lawyer. Mr. Mecca,
did I say?
If you are a lawyer, can you please tell me what is 239?
Shehzad.
239A 3B.
Not a political argument.
What are you talking
No, but he said that he was with the Constitution. So I'm asking him if he's with the Supreme Court judgment.
He's supporting you because you said...
So he supports para 95 and 239 AA.
Mr. Mecca, I have to get an Akashdeep Muni and our other panelists. I just want to know one thing. Mr. Mecca, I'm just repeating that question, but I don't want to waste time because we have to get other panelists in. The story today is also about an Arvind Kejriwal who's using this opportunity to build what he believes is the opposition unity. I want to know, where is Congress standing? The Congress does not invite Arvind Kejriwal to Bengaluru. Nitish Kumar is invited. Within the next 24 hours, Nitish Kumar is in the national capital. He meets with Arvind Kejriwal. Arvind Kejriwal and Nitish Kumar today speaking of an opposition unity. Tomorrow he is meeting with Mamata Banerjee. Later he meets with Sharad Pawar and Uddhav Thackeray. He's asking whether you are supporting Arvind Kejriwal or not. Do you believe that Arvind Kejriwal has been wronged by the centre or not? It's a simple question.
Let me answer very simply. It's not about invitations. It's not about opposition unity. It's about the constitutional processes and proprietary in the way our institutions work. That's what I am saying.
So this is constitutional. Are you saying what the centre has done is constitutional or it's not constitutional? In your view?
That Supreme Court will decide. In my view, as a layman, I'm not claiming to be a lawyer, but as peddled by Shahzad. Okay. So let me tell you, we all know when we follow 239.
It was evidently clear after you spoke on the subject.
What nonsense you are talking? What is evidently clear? You peddle lies first.
It's okay, Mr. Mecca. Let's not get personal. That's not the debate right now. Gentlemen, that's not the debate. Let's also have Akashdeep Muni Abhishek, because let's see what the AAP says to this. Mr. Mecca says we haven't decided. The Congress right now not wanting to indulge Arvind Kejriwal, but if we can also have Akashdeep Muni, then we'll get in Nikhil and also Deshratan Nigam. Akashdeep Muni, people say that Arvind Kejriwal is a man with zero ideologies. You know, he doesn't stick to any principles. It's all about convenience. Today, it's convenient for you to talk about opposition unity, so you want the entire opposition to get together. Are you forgetting what you've said about a lot of other opposition leaders? They clearly are not forgetting that. And why do you believe you have been wronged? Shahzad says he's just following the constitution.
Shahzad says
he's working against the constitution. Anyway, coming to the most important point, remember Uncle Ben said to young Peter Parker that power comes with responsibility. This is a classic case where you give all the responsibilities to the government but without any power. This is and give the power to a person who is neither elected but selected by the central leadership of Bharatiya Janata Party. You know, talking about the constitution, the Honorable Supreme Court said in its judgment, and I quote, and I'm not a lawyer, but I quote facts to you, Mr. Shahzad. The involvement of the Union of India in the administration of NCTD is limited by constitutional provisions, and any further expansion would be contrary to the constitutional scheme of governance. I'm not saying this. Honorable Justice Chandrachud said in his judgment. So when you are doing this,
read
you
para
are working
95 and
against
96
the
after
constitution.
that.
No, don't tell me that.
Akashdeep, go ahead and read 95 after that. Read para 95, you will understand. You don't read judgments like they are stories in themselves.
Hold on. Let's structure this.
No. You don't know what I read or not.
You don't read a paragraph as a judgment. You read the judgment in entirety. Read the para 95.
I'm shocked. Can you don't do this Congress thing with me?
Akashdeep,
learned professional.
Akashdeep.
Okay.
Akashdeep. Abhishek speaking to you. Akashdeep, there seems to be,
wait a minute.
you have made a point, you have taken this debate forward, Akashdeep, but there seems to be an anomaly.
Complete.
No, we are continuing this conversation. I am just indicating towards an anomaly. The para 95, 96 about which Shahzad is talking, that's where the judgment actually accepts the overall supremacy of parliament insofar as Article 239 AA is concerned, right? But then, for reasons explained later, the judgment veers towards the view that let the legislature and the executive of Delhi have complete control over services. Now, the anomaly I am indicating to is Article 239 AA, Akashdeep, is the will of the Parliament of India. Till the time that the Supreme Court does not express its opinion on Article 239A, which it has not. Hold on. Hold on. We can discuss Supreme Court verdicts. It's not the first time. Listen. Akashdeep, let's have a reasoned conversation. I am indicating towards an anomaly in the judgment, because of which, despite the ordinance, the centre has decided to go in for a review. In fact, even when the proceedings were on, the centre wanted a larger bench, which the court refused. Let me get the legal voices on this. Both Deshratan Nigam and Nikhil Jain represent the legal voices. I'll go to Nikhil Jain first. Nikhil Jain, you think there is an anomaly in this verdict? Because in para 95, the Supreme Court agrees that the parliament supremacy is there. The topmost court of the country has not passed any adverse comment on Article 239AA, which is the will of the parliament. And then it goes on to say, okay, fine, Delhi gets, the legislature and the executive of Delhi gets complete control over over the services. Do we understand whether Delhi remains a union territory as the scheme of things stands today? If yes, if Delhi is a union territory, does the verdict not almost turn Delhi into a state and hence contravenes with the will of the parliament as enshrined in Article 239AA?
No, Abhishek. So there are two important points that we need to understand. That when you talk about Delhi, it is specifically a sui generis case. It's a sui generis model, that is one of a kind model. The judgment also talks about it. It's a national capital territory of Delhi. The difference between the Delhi Legislative Assembly and the Delhi government and that of other state assemblies and state governments is that Delhi Assembly and Delhi government work on what we call delegated powers. So it is the powers of the parliament that have been delegated to this assembly, and because this assembly and this government represents the will of the people of Delhi, they have the power. But so far as constitutional mandates are concerned, the final say, the ultimate authority lies with the parliament. But the point of the matter is that we are a federal democracy. Supreme Court judgments, politicians have time and again iterated that it is for the people, the electorate, the citizens to decide how are they to be governed. In fact, the BJP, which is now bringing in this ordinance, is the same party that in its manifestos was claiming that we will get
Mr. Jain, what you're suggesting is, no, agreed, I concede. What you're suggesting is absolutely right, that the will of the people has to guide the parliamentary conduct or the
point I need to counter
constitution as it stands. But the fact is, as of now, that's what I was saying.
Abhishek, I need to counter Shahzad on one very important point.
The will of the parliament as reflected in 239AA is that Delhi is a union territory, not a state. And the Supreme Court has not passed any adverse comment against the article. So why then almost raise the pedestal of Delhi to a state?
The Supreme Court has made the ambiguity and the
will
grey
of the
area
parliament,
Abhishek,
or by contravening the will of the parliament.
The Supreme Court, Abhishek, hear me out. The Supreme Court has made that grey area, that area of ambiguity clear, that in normal course of actions, except the
yes, now you say it's a grey area, the ordinance plugs that grey area.
It is the Delhi Assembly and the Delhi government which is to prevail.
It plugs that grey area.
Now, exactly on the ordinance, Abhishek, one very important point that I would like to counter Shahzad on.
Let me get in Deshratan Nigam. You think there was actually a grey area, and the Supreme Court taking benefit of that grey area gave Delhi almost the pedestal of a state. The ordinance really plugs that gap and aligns the scheme of things with Article 239AA and of course Article 73 and 246 as well when it comes to union territories.
Abhishek, in fact, any judgment by the Supreme Court comes on the existing law and the existing constitutional provisions. That is why the Supreme Court has reiterated, 239AA3B, where the parliament is supreme, and they said if the parliament makes the laws, then the Delhi government's powers will be limited to that extent. So they have reiterated that position again in this, and once an ordinance comes, which is actually within the power of the parliament, and when the parliament is not in session, an ordinance comes. And therefore, this amendment which has been brought out is actually collaborative effort. And it's not that the CM has been excluded. The Chief Secretary and the CM, both are there. It is the chairmanship of the Chief Minister of the Delhi. So it's a collaborative effort, and it's a over-dramatized rhetoric of the Aam Aadmi Party, which is trying to, build some kind of a narrative in the eyes of a people and creating perceptions. Legally speaking, there are three subjects: public order, police, and land, which was already there with them. And once it was there, the Supreme Court, under the existing circumstances, said, no, you can't, in other places, you can't do it except these three. Now the amendment has come. So powers have again gone back to the LG. So there is nothing wrong in it. So there is no plugging up, loophole. Parliament is supreme. It has passed an amendment. Not passed an amendment. An ordinance has been passed by the executive, which is rather a collaborative
so
effort.
maybe there was a loophole in the eyes of the Supreme Court based on which, taking benefit of which the Supreme Court gave the verdict that it gave. The problem is, this is the first time, and Mr. Rajgopalan, I have to involve Mr. Rajgopalan also. Mr. Rajgopalan, before the Supreme Court verdict, the LG was the final arbiter of what happens insofar as this particular area, which is services, is concerned. Right? After the verdict, the matter went fully in the hands of the Council of Ministers helmed by the Chief Minister. Now the ordinance actually creates a formal structure wherein the Chief Minister is the boss of the Civil Services Authority. Of course, there are other bureaucrats. And then, by the virtue of being the chairman of the Civil Services Authority, the Chief Minister of Delhi gets access to all the files, service matters, everything. The information is formally available to him, unlike earlier when it was not. So I think the ordinance does a fair job of equitable distribution of power, and as Akashdeep was mentioning, power without responsibility. I think there is equal amount of power and responsibility in the structure enshrined in the ordinance, and hence it can be said that the centre has been fair in terms of dealing with Delhi as union territory, at the same time taking into account the aspirations as reflected by the people of Delhi in the mandate, giving it to the Aam Aadmi Party, and reflected in the Chief Minister's position.
Abhishek, you have explained it very well. Mr. Nigam Saab has explained it very well. It is more political than legal. Ordinance gives more powers to Chief Minister Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, that is born out of the page 66, Rule 95, and subsection 2239 to read with 3B. Therefore, ordinance gives more powers to the Chief Minister. Now, from the constitutional position, I can now turn it to the political angle. Will Mr. Arvind Kejriwal meet Mr. Kharge? Will Mr. Arvind Kejriwal seek the votes of Congress? Suppose Congress walks out on the day and the government is supported by the Congress in this ordinance, what will Aam Aadmi Party do? It may be a semi-final, it may be a baby cry, whatever Congress. But the Congress Aam Aadmi Party is eating away the Congress base. Therefore, Congress will not support the Aam Aadmi Party. Congress will walk out and be neutral. Apart from that, my only simple understanding, Mr. Abhishek, can Aam Aadmi Party representative in this debate ensure, as Mr. Kejriwal is meeting almost all the leaders of opposition, will he meet Madam Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge? As simple as that. Because Sonia Gandhi is the leader of parliamentary party. Can that happen? Suppose if that happens, what is the assurance of the Congress? What is going to be the status of Congress as a political party? Are they giving in to the pressures of Aam Aadmi Party? And secondly, and the final one, I would like to say that Aam Aadmi Party is having a double talk in this, double standard. In Forms Law, the same Sanjay Singh danced on the table of Rajya Sabha. He tore the book and he danced before Venkaiah Naidu. He stopped many ordinances, he stopped many bills. Suppose if it comes, the same ordinance of 2239B or the ordinance for supporting the Kejriwal has to support the ordinance because they have the training. It is going to help the Delhi government in the longer perspective, because constitutional bench has suggested this via media. Parliament has the supreme power, so you cannot object. You cannot obstruct.
Akashdeep, since the question is asked by Mr. Rajgopalan to the Aam Aadmi Party representative, let me take this to Akashdeep. Akashdeep, your Chief Minister said that this is a slap on the face of people of Delhi. This is contempt of court. People of Delhi have also voted in Parliament to the BJP. They have their MPs there. How come it becomes a slap on the face of people of Delhi when people of Delhi are smart enough to know that in Delhi they can vote for Arvind Kejriwal, but in Parliament, which is the final arbiter insofar as Article 239A is concerned, they vote for Narendra Modi.
Abhishek, 2 points. First is that I don't know who is really giving political analysis to Bharatiya Janata Party Delhi unit. Because this, but MCD was with Aam Aadmi Party. So, and the government is with Aam Aadmi Party. So now all the accountability stands with Aam Aadmi Party. But by passing this judgment, they really helped Aam Aadmi Party because in 2025, these same people, Aam Aadmi Party, will go and say that all the powers rest best with LG. What can we do? And these people who are laughing, they really prophesied routing of Bharatiya Janata Party in 2025 election. Then they can laugh and show the laughing faces on 2025 February when the election happened, and these particular will be crying because they would have laughed.
Good point. Shehzad, you have to answer this. You see, Akashdeep, you made a good point. Let me take this to Shehzad because he has to respond to this. You see, after 1991, when the 239A came in and Delhi got this state assembly, the BJP has come to power only once, I believe, right? Yeah. You have had Madan Lal Khurana as chief minister and you have had Sahib Singh Verma as chief minister. Madan Lal Khurana said that this feels like a body without soul. Sahib Singh Verma said, I would rather be a farmer than chief minister of Delhi. Right? So, I mean, why elect MLAs if you are not going to empower those people and the chief minister who represents the majority? And let them have a say on what happens in Delhi.
Look, first of all, every person who gets...
I mean, for God's sake, why should Centre bother about what's happening in Narela, what's happening in Gitorni? NDMC is anyway with you.
Let me answer this question. Abhishek, first of all, everybody who gets elected to the Assembly of Delhi knows the structure of Delhi. That Delhi is not just another state or another union territory, but it happens to house the capital of India, it happens to house the embassies of various countries, it happens to house the Parliament of India, on which there has to be control of the centre. And therefore, the constitution makers, our founding fathers, thought it fit to do this. They said that in 3 items of state list 2 will be completely excluded, but from any other item in the state list, if the parliament so believes it requires, it can make a law and curtail the assembly's executive and legislative power. This has been confirmed in para 95. Let me just read one line.
Shehzad,
Deepti, I beseech you, just one line. Deepti, you will break my flow. Please let me have...
We've spent the last 30 minutes, Shehzad.
Can I have one line? It is fundamental. But Deepti, what would differ if you gave me 10 seconds?
Shehzad, 1 second.
If you give me 10 seconds, it's just an ego issue.
The BJP talks about federalism. The BJP talks about, keeping all state governments together, and Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of the country. Why do you have elections in Delhi? If an elected state government
this is a very juvenile question. I'll tell you it's a juvenile question.
It's a juvenile question.
I'll tell you why it's a juvenile question.
Akashdeep also said about MCD. You see, MCD also people have voted for Aam Aadmi.
I'll tell you it's juvenile.
If you think
Deepti, no, you have to let me answer.
You think by doing this, the BJP will win the next
assembly elections? It's not about winning or losing. There are some things beyond elections also, Deepti. Believe you me, there are some things which are done in national interest. They're not done because we want to win or lose an election.
You believe in federalism, no?
No, Deepti, it's not about federalism. First of all, India is not a federal state like America is. India is a quasi-federal structure wherein we are a union of states. We are not a federal structure like America is.
Why do you have elections in Delhi? The point is,
Deepti, you have to let me answer the question because it's illegal. Because I see, it seems that you just want to pose your question but not hear my answer.
Shehzad, you will be asked those questions because these are questions
but your question can't be longer than my answer. We've had this problem even before, wherein you don't let me complete.
It's okay, Shehzad.
Okay, you ask.
Used to this. So let's do one thing.
You ask your questions, then let me answer consolidatedly for 30 seconds. I don't
want to ask you any other question. The point is that there is what Mr. Rajgopal
So you're not giving me an opportunity to answer?
What Mr. Rajgopal
Are you giving me an opportunity to answer, yes or no?
Shehzad, 1 second.
Abhishek, I need to have an opportunity to answer.
No. The point is, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. The centre has filed a review. The Aam Aadmi Party is approaching the Supreme Court. That's going to come to this. But there is also a larger political narrative. Now, a question that is going to be asked,
which will give me an opportunity
I'm
to answer.
I'm asking you the question before I go to our gentleman. Yes.
And you will not interrupt me for 45 seconds.
My question, Shehzad, before you try to dictate the debate, let me just
I'm not dictating the debate. I'm asking you to allow your question to be shorter than my answer. That's all I'm trying to ask you to do.
My question is that have you got this ordinance in a way to isolate the Congress?
No.
Why? Why do you say that?
May I answer now?
Yes.
Because the ordinance is a reflection of what has been written by the judge of the Supreme Court. Let me quote that line to you. If Parliament enacts a law granting executive power on any subject in State List 2, which is in the domain of NCTDD, the executive power of the Lieutenant Government shall be modified to that extent as provided in the law.
Okay.
Have you understood what that means?
So you answered the question. You answered the question.
We are only doing what the Constitution prescribes and the judgment prescribes.
So there is another aspect.
Mr. Mehka, why is it so difficult for the Congress right now to take a position? Because forget what happens in the Supreme Court. You know, we'll clearly go with what the Supreme Court says. Whether the Supreme Court stands today with what the BJP believes is the Constitution, or the Aam Aadmi Party trying to, put out a narrative that this is against the Constitution, we are being cheated, hame kaam nahi karne de rahe. Which is a narrative that you today are buying. The Congress will have to take a position, or the Congress believes that after the Karnataka election today, you are the real fulcrum. You cannot have people like Aam Aadmi Party dictating terms to you.
No. So this has nothing to do with Karnataka elections or opposition unity or anything. This is an issue which has two aspects to it. One, the way in which the ordinance was brought out. Do you mean to say BJP doesn't know before the Supreme Court told what the Constitution is saying? BJP is using the judgment para 95 to excuse its stand. Does that mean they don't know the Constitution before?
No, but you yourself are confused, no, Mr. Mehka? You yourself are confused. Can the Congress tell me? Can the Congress tell me that are you with this ordinance or you're against the ordinance? It's such a simple question.
No. Nothing in this world is in yes or no answers.
Congress will not support the ordinance.
That's not the way. No, wait,
Mr. Rajgopalan says that Congress in no way will support this ordinance. Though talking of ordinance, you're forgetting what Jaipal Reddy once had got, the entire ordinance on sealing. So, ordinances have a history, and that's exactly what Abhishek also said. That if you go into the legal perspective, Mr. Mehka, you will have a tough time defending your stand, but because this is also political, I just asked you what is your political position on what's been happening between the centre and the Aam Aadmi Party.
Exactly. Our political position is BJP is knowingly doing this, leading to a log jam. That's our political position. There are better ways to resolve this issue. And one thing, very simple thing. Very simple thing is, when Rahul Gandhi says India is the union of states, you have a problem. And now our BJP friend takes recourse to the same thing.
Here. Don't bring Rahul Gandhi.
So the problem is leadership. Now you want Rahul Gandhi to be declared the prime ministerial face. So what if he can't even fight an election right now, Mr. Mehka? That's the real problem. Akashdeep Pune, the Congress is not willing to support you.
Deepti, it is not about supporting Aam Aadmi Party. It is supporting the Constitution specifically. As time will come, you will see that all the opposition parties will be supporting the Aam Aadmi Party in particular, this particular ordinance case. Why? Because
why will they support an ordinance that only affects you? That's what I'm asking you, Akashdeep. Akashdeep, do you believe that Arvind Kejriwal today is the real challenger against Prime Minister Modi come 2024? Wow. Why should the opposition fall in line, and why should they support Arvind Kejriwal?
It is not about the opposition. It is not about Prime Minister Modi. It is not about the Constitution, the framework. And Nitish Kumar is speaking this man. People. So you will not support. I am not the Delhiite. So today, if there is power, there is a logjam of water in your house. Whom would you state accountable to? Whom you will be asking, the LG or the government? The common people. This is a lost situation for the common people, because the common people don't know that who is governing them, who is going to solve their problems. This particular ordinance really brought.
See, I asked you a political question. You want to make it legal because you don't have answers, Mr. Rajgopalan. Mr. Rajgopalan, how do you see this entire situation, sir, panning out in the next few weeks? How do you see
Next
this? Then
year.
we'll also get in Mr. Deshrattanega. But Mr.
Next
Rajgopalan
week-
first.
Next week, there will be 4 flights of Mr. Kejriwal to Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Mumbai, like that. But it will come to back square one. When it comes to the Lok Sabha, the bill will pass with thumping majority. In Rajya Sabha, it is going to be, passing because Congress will walk out. The 28 votes will bring majority to the government. Therefore, Congress will help BJP to square up Mr. Arvind Kejriwal politically. That is going to happen. And it is not semi-final, it is final.
Mr. Rajgopalan, Mr. Rajgopalan, wherever Aam Aadmi Party has grown, Mr.
Yes,
Rajgopalan, wherever Aam Aadmi Party has grown from Delhi to Punjab to Gujarat, we have seen that it has essentially replaced the Congress party. It has essentially crept onto the vote bank of the Congress party. So obviously, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are not going to see eye to eye on many things. But there is a more important aspect. You see, both Akashdeep Moni and Shehzad Poonawala are saying that they are with the Constitution. The verdict is with the Constitution and so is the ordinance. Can we find a halfway house and try to understand where exactly the Constitution lies? Nikhil Jain, you are holding something. Are you interpreting the verdict in your favor or are you interpreting the ordinance in your favor?
Abhishek, you asked me,
I've been meaning to counter this point that Shehzad has been making for a long time.
Let me come in.
Am I audible?
I will come to you, Mr. Rajgopalan.
I've been waiting for 20 minutes patiently to counter.
Yeah, Mr. Jain,
to counter
I have to go to Mr. Rajgopalan also, but
everybody.
before that to you and then
Para
Mr.
95 of the
Deshrattanega.
Supreme Court judgment. Para 95 of the Supreme Court judgment. However, if Parliament enacts a law granting executive power to the LG, the Parliament hasn't yet enacted a law. It is a typical BJP style of functioning that
because the
wherever
court
it is a
said so,
parliamentary
the
law or a
ordinance has been
constituent
brought in,
assembly,
Shehzad.
they find a way
If
to
this
do it
person
through a
doesn't know that an
governor.
ordinance is made when Parliament is not in session and is
It's
finding
an
a difference
ordinance
between
by the
law and
government.
ordinance,
Shehzad,
I can only,
Shehzad.
No, there is no
wonder
difference.
Let's not get
There is no
personal.
difference
if
whatsoever.
he's going to get his witnesses convicted.
Ordinance has
I mean,
been
if
brought by
this
the
is the
government.
level
I
of
very well
legal
understand
knowledge he
what the purpose
has,
of an
that he
ordinance
doesn't
is,
know that
but
a
it's
law
been
of
brought by
Parliament
the
and ordinance
government and
have
not by
the
the
same
Parliament of India,
exact
and there is a difference
constitutional
between
strength
the
and
two.
status.
It has
I
not
mean, what
gone
can I
through the
argue? I mean,
scrutiny
this
of
is
the Lok Sabha,
something we
it has
learn in
not
first
gone
year
through
of
the
school.
scrutiny of the Rajya Sabha. It has not been
I
passed
mean,
in the houses.
you know,
It does not reflect the will of the people.
Nikhil Jain or whatever your name is as a lawyer, you need to go and go back to law school and understand that ordinances are in the same pedestal as law of Parliament.
I don't need
if
to do
Parliament
that.
is not in session, you have an ordinance. And obviously, the ordinance goes to Parliament and gets
what was the need
voted
for an
upon and
ordinance?
gets
Shehzad,
becomes
you're
a
the
law.
spokesperson of
But
the
the
BJP.
ordinance
Tell
is
me, what was the
exactly in
need
every
for an
way a
ordinance?
law of Parliament in
You
that.
got your
What was
say.
the
Shehzad,
need
you
of
got
an
your say.
ordinance?
Shehzad,
What
you
was
got
the
your say.
urgency? Was there a war
No,
with
you
the
got
people of
ordinance
Delhi?
and law.
Was there a
Let's come back to
war
the
with Aam
political
Aadmi
argument.
Party? What was
Okay.
the urgency to
All right,
bring
let's go
an
back to the
ordinance?
political argument.
I
Mr.
asked
Rajgopalan,
that
I'm
what
coming
was
back
the
to you.
urgency
You
to
say
bring an ordinance?
Can I just have one line? Very quick line. Can I just have one line?
Political argument is simple.
Can
BJP
somebody in this panel
says-
who has a
tells
copy of the
people Delhi
Constitution
that it will give them full
and not
statehood,
Mr. Jain and his
then takes away
understanding,
all the power.
read 239
The authority is
883B.
just two officers.
Can you just read 239 883B? Can you just read that provision? 239
Abhishek, can I
883B.
speak?
Just read it loudly
Abhishek, can I speak?
for the viewers.
Yeah, respond.
Abhishek,
Nikhil
can I
Jain,
speak?
respond.
Why don't you read it first? Read it
Abhishek,
out.
can I speak?
You have a copy of the
Yeah,
let him
Constitution. Read it
respond.
out.
First of all,
respond, Shehzad.
Shehzad,
Let him
I'm not
respond.
here
Nikhil
to
Jain, go
teach.
ahead.
I'm not here to take your legal class. I'm not here to. I have the copy of the Constitution. I have 239.
You shouldn't. You should go back to
with me,
one.
but that is not what I'm
You
here
should go
for.
back
I'm
to a
here
legal
to make.
class.
I'm here to make a point.
No,
about
read out 3B.
how the BJP
I challenge
is
you to
running
read out
this
3B.
country
Please
in a
read it out.
in a completely undemocratic fashion.
Read out 3B.
Shehzad,
Arey,
this
we
is
are
not a
everything
court
you
of
say,
law.
now read out
We're
3B.
not having a legal argument.
Read out 3B.
I
What is
asked
stopping
Arey
you?
Baba, I asked you what was the need for
Why
an
not?
ordinance?
Let's not have a legal
What
argument.
was
Let's
the
have a
need for
political
an
argument.
ordinance?
No,
What
let
was
me
the
make this.
urgency?
Let me make this
And-
political
and
argument.
authority,
How
and
is an
authority.
ordinance
Shehzad keeps on
undemocratic,
talking
for
about an
God's sake,
authority
Nikhil
of the
Jain?
Chief Minister and
How
two
is an ordinance
bureaucrats.
undemocratic?
What happens to the cabinet of Delhi? What happens to the cabinet of Delhi?
No, tell me,
What
how
happens
is
to the
an
elected
ordinance
cabinet of Delhi?
undemocratic? It is part
Are
of the
they just
constitutional scheme of
recommendary
things
authorities?
enshrined
What
in the
happens to the
Constitution of
cabinet
India
ministers? Six
at
cabinet
par with an
ministers.
act
What
of
happens to them?
Parliament
They're
till the
elected
time that the
MLAs.
Parliament
They're
comes
being
to
elected
session.
by the people of the country. Two bureaucratic officers cannot decide aside the will, the actions and the fate of the 2 crore people of Delhi. It is a 3-member authority.
But the bureaucrats can't also be beaten up. The bureaucrats can't also be threatened. Remember why the ordinances come there before yesterday. I have to tell you this.
I may have my disagreements
May 11th is the day the verdict came.
Why was there an urgency to bring in this ordinance to give power in the hands of unelected people, the chief secretary?
Yes, I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why. Good that you asked this question. I'm telling you why. May 11th the verdict has come. May 16th.
Where is the power with my Delhi minister?
Hold on. Let's stick to structured debate. Mr. Rajgopalan, he's saying where is the power of my MLAs? He's saying where is the power of my MLAs while the Parliament of India in its wisdom, and it has not been overturned and there is no talk whatsoever of overturning it, in its wisdom enshrined in 239A that this is the scheme of things, this is the distribution of power between the Delhi Assembly and the Delhi Executive and the overall
Parliament.
Control of Parliament, the oversight being exercised through the office of the Lieutenant Governor. The question is,
Abhishek, exactly
the question is why the ordinance came now. Mr. Rajgopalan, May 16th is the day when a meeting was sought to be called by the Delhi government through its minister Saurabh Bharadwaj, and possibly the chief minister would have been there. And because the meeting could not take place, some bureaucrats were threatened. Remember, before the verdict, there are 8 complaints about which Deepti spoke of at the beginning of the conversation. 8 senior officers of the Delhi government have complained against their own government to the LG. And the LG has referred those complaints to various departments, including the center and possibly to the Supreme Court as well. These 8 officers, of these 8 complaints, Mr. Rajgopalan, only 2 were before May 11th. Immediately after the verdict, there are 6 complaints, which means the bureaucracy in Delhi is feeling or was feeling the heat of the aggression that came in the Delhi government, and that's why the ordinance had to be brought in. They are senior officers. I'm giving you the names. Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar has written to the Delhi LG complaining that he was threatened. Services Secretary Ashish More, and I've read his complaint, all of 5 pages. He was threatened in the chamber of Saurabh Bharadwaj. We have Special Secretary Kinesh Singh complaining. We have Special Secretary YVV Rajshekharan complaining. We have Power Secretary Shurbir Singh complaining. 1 IPS officer Madhur Verma complaining. And then we have an IRS officer Kunal Kashyap complaining. So the number of complaints by officers, senior officers, All India service officers increased by 3 times if you look at it, from 2 to 8 within a span of a week. That is the reason why the ordinance had to be brought in.
That is also one of the reasons, Abhishek, that is one of the reasons what you mentioned. Apart from that, whatever you have argued now, for the past 8 years, the Supreme Court was hearing this case and they came out with a very cryptic answer, page number 66, para number 95, 239A to read with 3B. That is the reason for ordinance. Simple as that. Ordinance is a constitutional weapon. Ordinance is a democratic weapon. Anarchists cannot fight the ordinance. That is why they are going into the political angle. Apart from that, my final submission is, if Rajya Sabha, as Mr. Arvind Kejriwal says, let us stall it, there is another weapon with the government to get a joint session called and pass it in the joint session. What will Arvind Kejriwal do? Because Congress has given in MISA, in other constitution effects, joint session was called. Therefore, Mr. Narendra Modi government may bring a joint session and pass it. What will Arvind Kejriwal do it now?
Abhishek, can I come in?
Mr. Reshratan Nigam, yes.
In fact, you succinctly summed up as to the number of examples that you gave about threatening. But the most famous was, and that was prior to the Supreme Court verdict, that was in 2018. The Chief Secretary Anshu Prakash was assaulted. If you recall that, it was a very big case. And the bureaucracy needs to be insulated as well and given some kind of a protection. And the examples that clearly gave that all was not well between the ministers and the bureaucracy. And that kind of insulation is absolutely necessary because Delhi is a unique place. It is not a complete state. We must remember it's a creation of the parliament, and therefore parliament under 239AA3B clearly keeps a control. And when a judgment is passed, it is passed on the basis of the existing law and the constitutional provisions. When an ordinance comes, it is equivalent to an act. It is equivalent to an act.
Yeah, Akashdeep, you see, these are all India services officers. They are senior officers. Chief Secretary spends 30 years before an IS officer spends 25, 30 years before he or she becomes a Chief Secretary. They are experienced people. There is some dignity, some courtesy that should be extended to them. From 2018 onwards, we have seen so many examples of indignified clashes, standoffs happening between the Delhi government and these officers. Now, the ordinance, what it does is, it formalizes a certain structure in the form of Civil Services Authority. The Chief Minister gets his say. The Chief Minister gets to see all the files, which earlier the Chief Minister was not getting to see. I mean, if the ordinance takes a broader, larger view, why not give it a try? Why not let the CSA be settled? Why not see it functioning? If the friction between the bureaucracy and the ministers comes down, it's in the interest of everyone. Akashdeep?
Very, very, very good point, Abhishek ji, and I totally agree with you, 100%. You know, IS officers are really dignified enough. IS Officer Association from Karnataka demanded FIR against BJP MLA Satish Reddy and his followers for an assault on IS officer. Assault. The association demanded. What action did Governor of Karnataka took on the Karnataka government at that point in time? My first question is this: why only Delhi government? Why not Karnataka government? Why not BJP ruled state government? Where the governors go and the person who was laughing.
I mean, one simple answer is because Delhi is a union territory, Karnataka is a state, but the political answer has to come from Shehzad Poonawalla.
Absolutely.
Now listen to me carefully.
Don't compare orange and apple.
It means either don't change the goalpost. Was this ordinance brought in because IS officers complained against the sitting government, or the ordinance was brought in because of the constitutional framework of the GNCTD? First, be clear. And this person who will again laugh on the people of Delhi, because he is a Delhiite, and still he says that put the responsibility.
No, I can't take that argument, because people of Delhi are smart enough to vote for Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi and vote for Narendra Modi at the center. So there is no slap on anybody's face.
No, there is no slap on anyone. There is confusion.
But then let Shehzad Poonawalla. The comparison, as I said, the comparison is not right between Delhi and Karnataka, Delhi being a union territory and Karnataka being a state, but then still you have to politically respond to what Akashdeep Muni is saying.
I have told you that this is in consonance with the Supreme Court judgment. If anybody has a different view on the Supreme Court judgment, they can approach the vacation bench and get the entire ordinance stayed. Thirdly, I am saying that please tell me that if somebody compares a full-fledged state like Karnataka with a sui generis union territory at the end of the day, but a sui generis, a class of its own, generation union territory, where the union has the power to legislate on any subject, even apart from the 3 subjects in state list 2, then I can only be helpless at 9 p.m. What else can I say if they want to compare the two? And I've said the reason before this. And by the way, only those who want to do transfer and posting scam are getting perturbed that they will not get an opportunity to do transfer and posting, perhaps for some commission like they did Sharab Ghotala with commission. Perhaps those are the only people who are feeling upset about it. So if that is the reason, Mr. Muni, are feeling upset about it, let us know that abhi scam karne nahi milega.
Okay, my last argument. Washington DC in United States is completely in control of the federal government. Canberra in Australia is completely in control of the federal government. Ottawa in Canada is the national capital, is completely in control of the federal government. We have the example of Berlin and Paris, where there are local governments functioning, but then the overall oversight remains of the federal government. In the case of Berlin with the German government, in the case of Paris with the French government. Even in our neighborhood, Islamabad is essentially a union territory. I mean, if all around the world we have these examples of federal capitals essentially being governed by the federal government, what's the problem in accepting this model in Delhi as well? For God's sake, Nikhil Jain.
No problem. One second. No problem. If this would have happened in 2015, when the notification had come.
So Abhishek, this point is very often raised. Abhishek, can you please have the other?
But that anomaly has been corrected with the ordinance now. It would be an act of parliament in the next session.
Abhishek, this point is made very often that capital cities are federal territories without realizing that Washington DC has a population of 7 lakh, Islamabad 20 lakh, Ottawa of Canada 10 lakh, Canberra of Australia 5 lakh. Meanwhile, Delhi has a population of 2 crores.
That's proportionate to the country's population,
na? Government would want to
that's proportionate to country's population.
Area where you have the parliament, where you have the embassies, the consulates.
Mr. Rajgopalan, the political argument about which Deepti has been talking about.
Not all a fair point.
You have lost the debate there. You see, you're not comparing apples to apples, Nikhil Jain.
Any of this.
No, you're not comparing apples to apples. That's not a right comparison because the respective populations of national capitals are corresponding to the population within the countries, within those countries as well. No, that's not a good argument.
No,
that's not a good argument. Mr. Rajgopalan, when BJP was growing as a national party, it had not really had the kind of imprint that it has today. It was still betting for Delhi as a state. But now the BJP finds it very convenient because it's in power at the center and effectively is the national party now replacing the Congress. The BJP finds it a little inconvenient for Delhi to be a full-fledged state. And I think there lies the grain because even BJP has to sort of evolve its position. This ordinance is of course fine and legal and of course there would be an act of parliament. But then the political aspect of this has to be sorted insofar as the BJP is concerned.
Political aspect is the statehood as demanded by BJP, as demanded by Congress was restored. The government question is about the ordinance. Ordinance is the need of the day because Supreme Court said para number 66, page number 95, 233A. Simple as that. Our discussion is about the ordinance. Ordinance is the main one. Ordinance is a political.
We have done that
because Congress will not support the ordinance. Congress will not support the ordinance.
No, we have discussed this para through the entire debate. Deepti, you see, at the end of it. Yeah.
One last comment.
Quickly, let Mr. Rajgopalan complete.
When there was a BJP government in the Delhi state and central government was Congress, or when there was a Congress government in Delhi state and a BJP government in the center, how come there was no problem? And how come there's only a problem?
All right, so it's a problem specific to the Aam Aadmi Party and that would be a matter of next conversation when we come back because this is not going to die down. There is a review petition filed by the centre and of course the ordinance would be coming up as a law in the next session of Parliament. We are going to hear about this a lot going ahead. On that note, thank you so much everyone for joining us this Sunday evening. Arnav is back tomorrow 9 p.m. with the debate.
The army from Khorasan, which from Afghanistan, will come before the end of time, will attack India, and they will be the best among the mankind.
So basically he wanted to attack India.
Basically.
So he said that to you.
The biggest actions of the movement